begins now.
Thank you. What I wanted to address today, the only other time I've seen the name Bobby Manuel come up dealt with a hearing entailing Wade Desitel, and I believe that involved a couple of chickens and 2 or 3 rabbits. So I would hope, I have no idea what the subject matter of this hearing is, so I would hope that this one's going to entail something a little more serious than that, because if not, I would find it ironic that we can bring folk in for a hearing for 2 or 3 chickens and a few rabbits, and yet we can have paintings auctioned off in excess of $100,000 that were identified as forgeries by Christie's, and it never even surfaced, never come before this board, and never be dealt with in any way, ever. So I would question the board's priorities. I mean, I know once.
Robert, stay on.
Yeah, I am on the topic. I'm making a simple statement. I find it would be you, ironic that it would be you, that would pose the objection, given that you served in such a high position at that firm for so long.
Mr. Burns, it has nothing to do with the current. Please address yourself.
I would submit that it does.
Robert, listen.
And you and I are in litigation, so it would be appropriate for you to recuse yourself.
Obviously, you're using this to promote your web video or what have you, or your personal agenda. This is about the hearing that we are having. If you would like to make a comment, please do so about the hearing, and not about me personally and why, whatever you just said, or we're at work. I am serving as a board member. Clear? Are we clear?
We're clear, and I understand
Okay, please continue about the hearing.
I would submit everything I have said pertains to the hearing, and in the Corvell lawsuit, they said the public does have a right to express these type of opinions. So be interested to see if the AG's office disagrees with that. Now, back to what I said. There are auction violations, and there are auction violations. I don't know whether we're fixing to go through an episode of 2 or 3 chickens and 4 or 5 rabbits. I would hope not. Because in my mind, that does not rise to the level of other incidences that have been ignored by this board. His name came up when I did a Google search on it from the LAPA website, because we believe in disclosure, and we've got Mr. Steele's investigative report regarding Mr. Desitel. That's how I would know it involves a few chickens and a few rabbits, because Mr. Steele identified that as being that's what took place. That auction involves Bobby Manuel, because it said Mr. Manuel was unaware he'd have to handle the money. So I know y'all are supposedly in the dark on whatever this entails, and I'm making a simple statement that I certainly hope is something a little more serious than 2 or 3 chickens and 4 or 5 rabbits. I've said my piece. Thank
you. Let me just say this. My name is Freddie Phillips. F-R-E-D-D-I-E-P-H-I-L-L-P-S. The only question I have, because when we saw this agenda item, there was no clarification to anything that we hear at all. And this is what we've been asking for. So when we come in here and there's a hearing, and we have nothing, the only thing we had was what Mr. Steele provided to us through the last time Mr. Bobby's name came up. That's all we had. Let the AG's office take that into consideration. And we come in here all the time in the blind. So when we have public comments as this is something that we need to be advised of. At least knowing what's, we don't have to know the details, but we need to know what's going on. As Mr. Burns stated, that there are a lot more serious issues that have not come up. And I pray that this is not one that involves menial issues that are not even warranted to spend this much money to have a hearing. Thank you very much.
I've had a chance to look at and review the complaint and response. Again, I will call. I do not think Mr. or Mrs. Baruso are here today. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
No, they're not.
Yeah, they're not here. His position, excuse me, was that the dresser was taken by Mr. Simpson. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how did he know that Mr. Simpson took the dress?
Mr. Simpson was the person that bid on and won the house grounds, the land. When Mr. Baruso came back to get his dresser, according to Mr. Baruso, Mr. Simpson had it in the back of his truck. He took a couple of pictures and he submitted these photographs with his complaint. I spoke to Mr. Simpson to hear from him, but his position was that he spoke to somebody in the auction staff and was told that those pieces, there were several pieces of furniture there that were not part of the auction. If he wanted them, he could have them.
As I look at this invoice, I understand the dresser is for $25
That's correct.
plus a 10% buyer's premium and tax. And did you ask Mr. Manuel if he was willing to refund the $25 to the purchaser?
Mr. Baruso didn't seem to be interested in that either.
He just wants the dresser, not the money.
Yeah.
Do you find it odd that something like this happened on auctioneer's part without providing someone there to check this stuff out as it's left?
It has been my experience that most auctioneers will tell you that the stuff has to be picked up by the end of the auction, or you have to make some type of specific arrangements to come back and get it. Particularly with regard to estate sales, where they don't have any custody or control of that place.
Elvin C. Simpson Jr.
Were you present at an auction that was handled by Mr. Manuel?
Yes, I was.
And what did you purchase at that auction, generally?
I purchased a whole estate, which was the house and the land and a whole bunch of houses that was actually on it. And when we walked in the house, and there was a whole bunch of cypress cabinets, Irvin was into cypress. He had cypress everywhere. He had a cypress mill back there. They had all kind of cabinets that were built into the house and into the walls that were not movable property, that people were trying to unscrew and take them out. I said, oh God, this don't go with you. This is part of the permanent property. You can't take this. And this guy and two other guys were walking out with this dresser and the sewing machine. And I said, whoa, where are you going with this? I said, you know, you don't own this. He said, oh yeah. He said, I'll bid on this. I said, well, it's no problem. Give me your list and give me your paper where you showed that you paid for it. And you can load whatever you want. Well, he got his friend, and they had a big long list, and they started looking to it, and they said, there's no number on it. They don't have anything. We don't have anything. I said, well, you can't prove you bought it? He said, and his friend said, nope, we don't have it on the list. I don't have anything where we paid for this. I said, well, you can set it down. And I said, by the way, let's go look in your trailer. Let's take your list, and let me see what you got in the back of that trailer. As soon as I said that, they flipped the lid up on the trailer, and they took off. Well, I don't know what he was taking, but I think he took more than what he was supposed to be taking, myself and my own opinion. And that's the last I heard of him. And then a year later, I get a certified letter, so I go to the post office and get it, and it's a letter from him demanding that I find the dresser and give it back to him, and I stole it from him. So I tore the letter up and threw it in the garbage can. Didn't think anything else about it. About 6 months later, I get another letter from him with the same thing. So this time I called him up. I talked to him in person, and I said, hey, this is Chet. You know what we went through? I think you stole half this stuff. You didn't have a bill of sale for this thing when you got it, and that's why I didn't let you have it. So I don't care. I didn't want it. To me, I didn't know what he paid for it. $25 of value, you know. I said, it ain't worth my time fooling with it. I gave it to a relative, and I'm not sure who I gave it to. If it was a daughter or a sister-in-law or somebody else, but they took it. And I said, so it's gone for as I'm concerned. And I told him at that time, if I get another letter from you, that's why they make lawyers. I'll sue you, you can sue me, and we'll be back and forth in court. And last thing I heard, I get a guy knocking on my door for a subpoena to come here. And for this guy, I think it's enough. Mr. Manuel here told me everything and did everything that they told me when I bought the place, when I bought everything, and I think even other stuff. They say when you purchased it, make sure you got it. Because if it leaves out here tomorrow and the next day, you know I'm not responsible. That's what I'm doing here. That's my story.
And Mr. Baruso did buy the dress. He did pay for it. In fact, there's a copy on his invoice right here. And he called me up that Sunday. The auction was Saturday, he called me up that Sunday. And the deal I had with the estate and Mr. Crawford, the attorney, was I was going to conduct the auction. And I was not going to be sitting there for 30 days. That's not what the deal was. And like I do at every auction I conduct, if you buy something, keep track of your stuff. I tried calling him, and I don't know, I could never get a hold of him. What I was going to do, I was going to tell him, look, I'll give you money back and just forget about the whole thing. But then I never could get it. Then 2 years later, he did this. And I did talk to Mr. Bruce yesterday. I did talk. And he was supposed to be here today, but he's not. I asked him, I said, look, I said, there's 15 years I'm in the auction business. I've never had the first complaint. I said, I'll give you money back, and I said, we know we'll just forget about it.
Seems to me to be your mistake. This man paid for this dresser. He never got it. He paid for this dresser at an auctioneer that you conducted, and we have someone else who is apparently trying to claim the dresser, who says he's not going to give it back. So if it's your mistake, how are you going to correct it for the purchaser? It would be Mr. Baruso.
Well, like I said, I talked to Mr. Baruso yesterday. I asked him, look, I said, I'll give you money back, and I said, we'll just forget about it. He says, no, he did not want my money. But he wants to know why the board took 2 years to bring it up. He doesn't want his money back.
Okay.
He wants a letter from the board
This seems to
saying
me,
why, it took 2 years to get it.
since you were the auctioneer and this property was in your guard, it seems to me that if someone put merchandise that someone else paid for at your auction, that amounts to a theft. Have you attempted to report that to the district attorney?
No, I did not.
Are you willing to do so in order to correct this situation and get that dresser back from Mr. Baruso?
Yes, if we have to, yes.
And you would make a complaint to the district attorney of your vouch against Mr. Simpson to get that dresser back.
If that's what we got to do, we do. I'll refer Mr. Baruso because Mr. Crawford was the attorney.
I don't see where an attorney has anything to do with this. It's your
He was
mistake.
in charge of the
Now,
estate.
question, Gordon. Can I ask some questions? Go ahead, sir.
I mean, he was in charge of the estate. So I told him, talk to him.
But it's your auction. You conducted the auction.
That's correct.
Jim, you have a question? Going, you're finished, or?
Yes, I am.
I think the only thing I would say today that for this board is an issue with regard to the behavior of the auctioneer in this case. It has nothing to do with the value of the item that allegedly was taken inappropriately. It has to do with what the responsibilities of an auctioneer are.
All right. Heard everything. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the board impose a fine on the license of Mr. Manuel for violation of 3121.5, which is incompetency of gross negligence in as much.
Second. Motion failed. Okay. Any other motions?
I make a motion that there's no action.
Have a second?
Also,
Hold it.
Mr. Brisker.
Yes.
Mr. Henderson.
yes.
Mr. Sims.
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs.
No.
Ms. Steinchen.
Yes. Wait, I'm sorry. So everybody voted?
Yes.
So it's 4-1. Motion passed, no action taken. End of the hearing, thank you. Turn over.
Off the record. Okay, thank you.